Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael, KE4EST. And here on the bench I've got a Heathkit IM1202, 1202. And I pulled this out. I've got all kinds of old stuff from the years and years of test equipment and radios and you name it. Got another building out back with all kinds of stuff in I've collected and stored, and I was out there looking for something. I keep stuff out there like I need a part or need this or that, and I come across this, and you can see I've already took the back off of it, and I've been messing with it. This was a friend of mine's who's no longer living. He passed away quite a few years ago, but I used to go over to his house all the time. He's an older guy, and I was 19, 20, 21, something like that. And up until I guess I was about 24, 25, something like that when I got married. Just about every evening I'd go over to his house. We'd hang out. We'd do ham radio stuff. We'd work on electronics and all this stuff. He was he did like old machine repair is what he would call it. Like typewriters and things like that, adding machines and cash registers and all that. He was really good at it. I mean, the old mechanical stuff. He got a pretty good name where people would bring in stuff or ship in stuff from all over the place that wanted an old mechanical cash register still working, or an old typewriter or whatever. And and some of them would plug up, and some of them weren't. Some of them you didn't plug up; they were completely mechanical. They'd have all the levers and pulleys and all kind, lots. When you take it apart, and you take apart a modern HF rig and look at all the thousands of little surface mount resistors and capacitors and all the chips and all the stuff, and you look at that and go, "Wow, I never knew where to start to fix something like this or build something like this, or whatever." And he would, it'd be the same way with that stuff. He'd get some stuff in I'd look at, and it would just be thousands that look like little springs everywhere, and little pulleys and little all kinds of doodads, and he'd be working on it, and he'd say, "Okay, this button ain't working, or this one ain't working." He'd go through, and he'd have all these little tools, and he'd pull all that stuff out. He'd dig down into it, taking a lot of stuff out, and there's little metal pieces and rods and stuff laying everywhere, and he'd go back again and get a piece, and he'd put everything back in, and it always worked. That's what he did for years and years, and he was retired, but he still worked on that. And then he wanted some in electronics, but this came off of his bench, and he gave it to me years and years ago, and said that he built it himself from a kit. And you can see how dirty it is, and how this here needs to be re-glued here. It's where it says, it's supposed to say Heathkit across here. You can see the H, and that's about it. It's got a lot of scratch, got some kind of ink on it and dirt. And some of this was like that when I got it. I remember he was a heavy smoker, and it set up in his bench up there, and mostly he didn't have stuff, like you see here with oscilloscopes and whatever. He'd have this, a couple little things like that. Mostly, like I said, it was mechanical stuff. He didn't need, maybe a meter for testing continuity on something, or checking to see if, power's coming into it, line voltage. But that was about it. This was always sitting up there, and I asked him about it a couple times, and he's like, "Yeah, he'd take it and flip it on. See, yeah, it comes on, works, or whatever." And I remember he saying there was something about it not exactly right, and he never got it exactly right, and you'd see him always having a little modern, handheld, DMM, sitting there, and he'd just take the probes and do whatever. Well, he gave this to me, and I stuck it, away with other stuff. So I come across this, and I was going to go through it, and then just see if I could bring it back to life, get it working, get it at least on the voltage scale, DC volts, get it doing something. It's Nixie tube. It's hard to see that, but you maybe can see them there on the side. There's Nixie tubes in there. Only two. There's two Nixie tubes, and there's one just just a neon lamp in there, like indicating numeral 1. So it's not going to give you a bunch of zeros past decimal place, but I thought it'd be neat to get it and set it up on the bench or something or whatever, and use it occasionally or just for a quick check. It ain't got, if I'm checking something, I don't need down to the exact hundredths of a volt or anything like that, but just to get a general idea, And I don't know how accurate this thing will even be, but so I was doing that, and I thought, you know what? Maybe you guys would like to see it. Go through. I don't know how much of a full restoration I'm gonna do on this, or how much this I'll shoot on video and upload or whatever. How much I'll put on camera and how much off camera, but go through it. But I'll flip on over here. Let me get that light a little bit. You can see the Nixie tubes, and I got it to go that far. It's in the back of it. I was reading the manual, and he had the manual on everything. I dug through and found that. The zero adjust here. I first plugged it in. Let's see if I can make it do it. It's kind of warmed up, and there it goes. It was doing that. There's that. And it's kind of maybe hard to tell what's going on there in the camera, but every one of those is lit up back through there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 9's all lit up. You might can see it from the side. It's kind of probably hard to see on camera. Let me zoom in and see if we can get that. This looks like a orange glow, I guess. But in there you can see that every one of them's lit up. And that's what it did. And I was like, well, something's definitely wrong with this thing. But, it's coming on. I'm not went and changed anything out. Something like this, even this. You need to go through and change out. At least the capacitors and the power supply, stuff like that. But I just thought I'd leave it on a while and see if I could kind of reform the capacitors or anything, see what happened with it. So I started reading the book, and it's talking about the alignment, and it said to adjust this. I said have nothing plugged into the front, which I've got. I was playing with it. And you can see this is off here. That's as far as it goes that way, and as far as it goes that way. That's got to be fixed. So that would be 200 ohms, 2. So it says put it where it says 2. Technically that should be up here, but this is 2. And then it says to adjust if I can get it on there, 0 adjust. Wrong way, until it's barely jumping from 0 to 1, or 0.01. Well, I like right in there. And it'll stay on 0, and sometimes it'll jump to 0.01. And then the next thing you do is you plug in a test lead, and there's a DC calibration spot back here, and you hook that up. As you can see, I ain't getting nothing there. Let's get things set right first. Okay, DC volts. Okay. Yeah, I've been playing with it. Oh, wait. Right in there somewhere. You can get it on 0, that's fine if you get it close. Okay. If I put this on that, you can see it changes. It goes to 0. You're supposed to put that on there. And it should go up to the calibration voltage, which is written in the case, and somebody's written it on the back here too. It might have been him. 1.873. Well, it's doing that. If I let go, see how so there's something goofy going on with it. And that's as far as I've got with it. I've tried a couple of things, like trying to do the ohms adjust and all that, and I can't get that to work either. So I don't know if it's a voltage issue in the power supply, or if you can kind of see here. Bring the light back over there. These chips in here, and they're every one in these sockets. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah. Oh, and these like, well, that's not ceramic, that's some kind of plastic. These plastic sockets here. So, a lot of times I've had things like this I'm working on and find out, you know, you take all these chips out and reseat them and it starts working, or replace some contact clear in there and put them back in. And whatever you're working on starts working again, especially if it's acting goofy. And this daughter board, or whatever they're going to call it, it plugs in too to the, you know, it's just a wire and it's plugged in here for the receiver. Yeah, we're getting some voltage there. Look at that. Maybe I shouldn't do that. It might be overloading something. Because one side of this is high voltage. Because I wouldn't really call this a hybrid. I've heard some people call it hybrid, but this is all solid state. The only thing in here these Nixie tubes are just for output. You know, it was the 70s. This thing came out in 1972. If I remember right, you know, I mean, it's going by my memory. It's been a long time. I think he said he built this in 1975, so that's probably about right. Because I looked this up and it's 1972 when it came out, so that could be possibly 75 when he built it. And he's got all kinds of, and I remember him talking about this. He's got, back off just a little bit here. There's like a popsicle stick he's got glued in here. And he's got something glued in here. And these little pieces he stuck everywhere. He said to get trying to line it up or something. But I don't know. But it could be these contacts in here. If I look in there, I can see there's a little bit of corrosion in there. Sometimes you can take these things and just do this back and forth a few times. Kind of clean them and it start working. 200 ohms, 2 ohms, or 2 volts. So DC. No, it still ain't. It's jumping around, but it ain't going up to where it's supposed to. So I want to shut this off. Or what I was saying was, this is, you know, to me a hybrid is something like a guitar amplifier or something where you have like some 12AX7s and a preamp part of the amplifier to get that tube sound as it's coming through the preamp, and, you know, a couple of 12AX7s or something like that, and then the rest of it's solid state, like solid state, you know, transistors for the amplifier part, you know, the main amplifier part, driving the speakers and stuff. Where this is all solid state, it's just got Nixie tubes just for the display. So, I mean, you could call it hybrid, I guess. But mainly, I mean, this is a solid state, but it does have some high voltage in here that you got to watch out for. It's about 160 or 50 volts, maybe 170 volts. I'm not sure. I have to look at the schematic to, you know, feed those Nixie tubes. But let me shut that off. Over here, unplug that, and I'll see if I can get this. Not too bad. You can see it's got that D shape in it, so it, wherever it is, it locks. This one should be the same way. Yeah. So either it is moved inside of here, which is probably not, because it's using knurled down in there. You drive that down into this plastic, so that's probably not moving. No, that's, can't even move if I want to. I guess I could break it, but let's not do that. So I'm guessing this somehow is moved. I ain't sure, but that's, maybe that knob is being goofy. I don't know. Because that's, you can see there. I don't know. We'll see if I can move the whole assembly, but it's soldered in there pretty good. So I'm not sure. But anyway, let's take these knobs off. Should use like a 1/2 inch. Well, that's loose. Okay. If you're doing something like this, take these off. If you ain't careful, you scratch. This one here I'm not so worried about, like I said. I'm not going to make this any kind of shelf queen or anything. I just thought about my old friend Charlie. You know, it'd be neat to get this going. It's been years and years, and you know, so let's see how this comes apart here. If it will just, oh yeah, that comes right out. So I did that. Maybe. Okay, something's still catching. Of course, I got this big wad of wires here that's kind of tied in there. I'm not sure. This is why sometimes doing this on camera is aggravating. It might just be something simple. Well, I'm not. Wait. Okay. Alright. It was catching down. Well, you can't see where the camera is. It's catching right down here. On this here. If you can see that. So that came right on out there. Okay, so it does have. It looks like the overload. Because when I was doing some adjustments on it, I could get part of this to go up to where it's supposed to, and the adjusting the ohm setting, you know. But it said this here should light up, but that's black as it can be there. So that might be bad right there. I'm not real sure. It sure looks like that neon lamp's burn out though. But this capacitor will need to go, and this capacitor and the power supply need to go here. Alright, let's see here. Make sure you can see this. So you see how this board here, I can see a little better, it just kind of plugs in. And then of course you still got the wires coming to go to these neon lamps here. But this is supposed to be like a number 1. This is your other numbers. This lamp's supposed to light up for plus. Actually, I thought it was at a plus and a minus. But it's missing the bulb. And it's not only missing the bulb, it don't even have the wires. So, and he told me several times he's not, you know, great at electronics. He did, you know, try to do a few things, but I know there's a lot of things even back then, you know. I would help him go through and we'd do stuff and build circuits and stuff, and sometimes he'd build up something. I'd draw a schematic up and say, here's the way I would do it. If you want to build this or redo this or whatever. And I remember one time I got there and he had I think it was a power supply. And he said, I've already blowed up, I forget what it was, a couple of diodes or something. I keep blowing fuses or something. And so I got there, because I'd, you know, go to work during the day in a regular job, and I'd swing by his house, and I'd looked at it, and I said, well, Charlie, I said, did you go by my schematic? Yeah. I said, well, how come you got these diodes in like this? They're supposed to go this way. He's like, oh, I got to make a drink. So he'd go make him a mixed drink, say it's the evening anyway. But, and you can see how all these things are socketed in here. Oh, well, there's why that ain't working, which I kind of wondered about that. So that's neon too. Huh. See that. If you can see that. You can tell by the way it looks. It'll sit there somewhere. You can tell by the way that looks in there. See, that's a neon bulb too. Well, that definitely wouldn't work in either. So it's got a few things that needs to be done if I want to get this working and replace this neon bulb here. Well, you know, I might actually see the wire for the one for this here that may have already done this at some point. That's fairly interesting. So, yeah, there's a few things need to be done to this. Go through and check a few things. Change out these capacitors. Put some new ones in there. Reseat all these chips. Clean them up. Clean the contacts on this. See this thing here is set. You know, and so I wonder. No, it wouldn't be that. So I don't know. And these resistors, most of them are like those little 1/4 watt Allen Bradley style, but it looks like a couple of them down here. That the camera zoomed in too far there. Let me bring it up a little bit too. Give me a pointer at. Like that one looks like could be a roundy, but that one there, I probably can't see it on camera. That was definitely Allen Bradley. These are all them precision resistors, you know, for your scales. So there's not a lot of bad corrosion or anything in here. So anyway, I'll go through this thing some more, change out these parts, do some things, check some voltages, and see if we can bring this thing back to life. And I'll let you know what I come up with when I find out some more. Let me set that over there just a minute. It's nice when you have the actual book on these things, because that light's gonna make it clear, ain't it? You got the full-blown schematic here. Folds out in 3 sheets here. So yeah, see, it's supposed to have right here. Let's see if I can make this so you can see that. Ugh. This here, you see where it says minus and plus here, so that's those 2 neons. It's supposed to have 2 neons, one for the plus and minus. And let me see, fix those neon bulbs. Maybe this thing will start working again, or get it back to where it was at. You know, maybe he didn't have it exactly. I don't know. It's interesting that's missing that. Yeah, some of his sticks are falling out, I see. Go through and fix this here. Kind of maybe see if I, let's do this. Yeah, you can see that, especially like that. I'm looking at reverse here, but see, we're supposed to, this is blacked out, and then you got minus, plus, and over. I never get the over or the minus or plus to show up, you know, so far on what I got to do. Well, so this over's burnt out. There's no bulb in the minus, and the plus just rotted off. So anyway, I'll go through some of that, and then I'll report back when I get some more figured out on this thing, get some parts going on here. So until then, this is Michael, KE4EST 73.